I'm not making a judgment one way or the other, it's a question.
The issue here, though, is the item that you brought up is independent of new business item number 6. It's something for a bigger discussion because we're not voting to change that within this ordinance. And voting a yes or no won't change how that reads right there. But it could be addressed with a further ordinance if you'd like to bring up, and then, then we go that route with it. But it's independent of new business item 6, so discussing it within this issue itself isn't really fair to this issue, isn't fair to anyone that hasn't prepared a thought from that side of it. So I think we need to move with that item and discuss that at further time. If you need to bring it to a work session with a revised ordinance or whatever it is, that's the time to address it, not part of what we have right here.
Well, we could easily get rid of it now by voting down the ordinance and then going back and changing it. I mean, part of the ordinance is section 3. So that's why.
But it's not a change in the ordinance, that's as the ordinance writes right now.
Right.
In which case, I guess we could vote and see whether or not we
Yeah,
want to do that.
Yeah, from my perspective, I mean, I have no problem discussing it. I think that that's a valid discussion. However, I feel there's a lot more to it than what we're saying. I mean, I think there's various scenarios that we can get into. But merit, on a yearly basis, should they have the leeway to determine what merit? I mean, I think there's a larger discussion that, kind of to Heath's point, it will recall a lot. Right, exactly.
I mean, but if you vote yes for this salary ordinance, you're acquiescing to section 3, which I do not plan on doing.
But at next Wednesday, you could come up with a revision to section 3 of this ordinance. So it's not part of what we have before us.
So you take a policy question. So, well, to that.
What was the number on this one,
Is there a motion to move?
2401.
Yes, 2401.
I move that we pass ordinance number 2401, providing for the addition of a community development director and for the collapse of ranges 8 and 9.
Second.
Motion Freeman, second Harrison, that we pass ordinance 2401. Freeman.
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
Morrow.
Yes.
Spodovich.
No.
Gregorczyk.
Yes.
2401 passes. Thank you, Mary. New business item number 8, consider adopting resolution number 1877, declaring it necessary to appropriate private property or interest therein for the White Drive Sewer Improvement Project and to further cause a survey to be made of such land.
Map up, there we go. The White Drive Interceptor Sewer is one of the projects it's been advanced several years, as we've discussed in the past, the registrar software. And it's needed, but because of the school project, we need to advance this section because this is the most severely constrained capacity of this portion of the interceptor sewer that kind of follows basically from behind or south of the Kentucky Fried Chicken over to Center Street at about Colleen Drive. There are 4 owners and 5 tracts from which we need to acquire easements, so we started talking to them. One of the owners is starting to make suggestions that he wants more than we think the easement is worth. We don't have a limitless amount of time, considering this thing has to be in operation by next summer by our annexation agreement. Additionally, there is a benefit district sewer that needs to tie in with the manhole that's shown on the south side of the tracks. The line is in kind of a purplish color. What we'd like to do is, because of the time element, we would like to proceed with the first step toward eminent domain acquisition of land, which is a resolution that authorized the city to commit a survey or prepare a survey and prepare descriptions. It's just a formal first step. The next step would be an ordinance that specifically describes tracts from which we would need to condemn easements out of. And then finally, the last step would be staff and the city attorney would be filing an action with district court. So we're still 3 steps out, but we have to take this step first. the longer we delay, the more jeopardy our schedule will be in the event we can't reach an agreement. Of the three landowners, one is a corporate. Many times they're difficult to deal with, and sometimes they just say, the heck with it, forgive us. I'm not to the point there. Another one is a landowner with whom we've dealt with on numerous projects, and we usually end up in eminent domain with this particular landowner because he'd rather just let the courts figure it out. And then the other two, I don't see any issues. But once again, we have an ordinance that we will have to come back with you before we can go to the next step, which is actually filing.
So you can handle each of these situations uniquely?
Yes.
So, okay.
In fact, once, Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, even after we've filed an action, we can continue to negotiate until the court-appointed appraisers have met. So even after it's already starting to work its way through the court system, negotiations can continue. But just as a matter of just keeping the project on schedule, it's time to take this first step.
I guess my question would be, do we appear to be far enough apart with the property owners that going the route of eminent domain condemnation, there's going to be legal fees that are associated with that? We're going to, working something out with them is not going to be less expensive than going through this process.
Don't have an answer for that yet. We'll know as we continue talking to this particular owner.
But we don't, if we take this,
We still have plenty of time to talk.
we can deal another hand.
Right. I mean, we should, by the time we come, it's gonna probably be, two more council meetings before we'll be ready to bring the ordinance back to you. We'll have more information to share at that time.
But I thought I understood your question to be, would we be spending money, if we authorize this, are we spending money unnecessarily, on this, when it could be that all of the landowners agree?
You're not spending any money on this
Okay,
other than the time it's taken for staff to prepare
Okay.
and Jim to review.
There's no outside fees for the surveys or anything like that?
No, that's already been done.
Okay.
Yeah, that's gotta happen.
That's what I was-
That's already happened. It's
Expenses
just formal language from,
this is really a timing matter. I mean, you could do it in a serial fashion and, come to a point and say, we're not getting anywhere, let's move forward, but then you've lost so many weeks of going through the resolution and the ordinance and so on. So, think within, a few weeks, we've got to know one way or the other. If it's a
Correct.
go or no-go, and if it's a no-go, then we file.
correct.
And that's something we'd get updates on in the weekly report from administrators. Chris.
And on, I apologize with new council members, with wastewater, we can proceed for wastewater projects without having land, whereas with roads and so on, isn't there? a way we
It
do
depends on whether or not, if you have KDOT projects, you have to have the land on hand.
Right.
If it's our own project and we're administering it, we could proceed. It could get to the point where once, let's say, we've got most of the easements except for one. Once we have the condemnation action in progress, we'll have a reasonable amount of, we'll know approximately when we would have access to it. We could go ahead, advertise the project with that scheduled in the
That
bid.
time, okay.
Where you get into trouble is if you bid it, and then it turns out they don't have the land, and then the meter starts running.
Right.
But if you make that an entrance condition to the bid package, then you have more flexibility.
Okay. How would council like to proceed with resolution 1877?
I move we adopt resolution number 1877, authorizing city staff to proceed with preparation and acquisition of descriptions for land that must be acquired for the White Drive Sewer Improvements Project.
Second.
Motion Morrow, second Freeman, that we adopt resolution 1877. Morrow,
Yes.
Freeman,
Yes.
Gregorczyk.
Yes.
Spodovich.
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
1877 passes. New business item number 9, consider authorizing the city administrator to execute a purchase contract with HD Supply Waterworks for water meters. David?
And this is a purchase of 247 water meters for 212. The purpose of these meters will be to replace older meters. We've targeted roughly 200 meters that were installed prior to 1990 for this year. We're getting about 247 out of this particular bid. Money's in the budget, and we request your approval.
I have a question. So we budgeted 29,000, so why wouldn't we go ahead and purchase the additional 46? Is it because we don't need them, or is there?
At this point, the budget, you've got 20, part of the money's in existing meters and new meters. As I recall, I think 6,000 of it is in new meters. We still have an inventory of roughly plus or minus 100 meters. So what we're doing is picking up the meters we need to replace for the old change-out.
Okay.
So we can go ahead and buy more meters at this price through the end of the year if we do need them.
Okay, that was my,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
the unit prices are good through the end of the year. And this is a mixture of mostly the small, standard size house residential meters up to some 2-inch meters or the larger ones. Prices run from roughly $85 for the typical residential meter up to the 2 inches are costing about $550.
Have we looked, I mean, is that beneficial? So for instance, I mean, do we know in previous years, I mean, are we getting, is the price been increasing? So it would be beneficial for us to go ahead and utilize whatever funds we have available to purchase it, or has it not been significantly?
I think I'd let Jim back me up on this, but the prices don't seem to be, they seem fairly constant. Pretty constant, yeah.
Pretty close to it.
And what did you say that the error rate is for each year?
You lose about
Is it 0.5%?
0.5% per year. So over...
Half to 1%, yeah.
Yeah, so, at roughly 10 years, it's good to be replacing them or recalibrating them if they're recalibratable.
So we've lost, in some cases, maybe 22%
Could be, yeah.
of a meter.
On the average, yes. But this rate of replacement, this is about what the staff can handle.
And is that on like a 100-year, 10-year, what does that master plan look like for the entire city to have at one point in time new meters of that period?
I think the standard is about once every 10 years.
Okay.
I think a 10-year life.
And are they electric to where there's less manpower invested in reading those meters? Or maybe wireless is a better way to say
The
it?
current meters are the touch
Mhm.
wand, so
Mhm.
they do have the wiring going up the
Yep.
top and the line stabbing.
Gotcha. So there's no labor savings in the new meters?
Right.
We
The
still
ones
have
that
to
we've
walk
been
it and touch it
installing,
and
some of
move
the
on.
ones we had purchased that were prior to adopting the
Mhm.
tap read, we could retrofit. But currently, everything we're doing now has the wand.
We converted all of our old manual meters to the tap read several years ago, didn't we? Still have some out there?
All of these would be the non-tap type, they're that old.
Oh, wow. I didn't think we had any of those left.
Would that bring us current then? Would that bring us current, or would there still be some out there?
I'm not sure when exactly we started on the touchpad, but we definitely are not going to be all caught up, but we're still considerably behind. We should be buying about 700 meters a year. We can't, without extra help, we can't install that next fall.
Even if you could buy them?
Even if we could buy them.
Give us a new stamp. All right. Other questions?
Will we probably see a similar expense then for purchasing next year to continue this, or will we?
That'd be correct.
How would council like to proceed?
I move we approve the business item number 9.
Second.
Motion Harrison, second Freeman, that we authorize city administrator to execute a purchase contract for water meters. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Council update, David.
Okay. As you'll recall, we entered into an agreement with KDOT, City of Edgerton, Johnson County, Mid-America Regional Council for a transportation and land use plan for the southwestern part of the county. The project has begun. The KDOT has hired a consultant, Belsker, Holt, and Ullevig out of Omaha to run that study. They convened, there are two groups involved to oversight for the study. One is called the core team, which is staff members. They attended the first meeting. Amy Kynard and planner and Tim McEldowney, city engineer, the actual staff members. They were both out of town that week, so I covered the meeting. There's a second committee called the Advisory Committee, which is composed of electeds, planning commissioners, business leaders. At the last planning commission, Amy polled the planning commission, asked if there would be any volunteers, and Commissioner Pop volunteered to serve on it. And next item would be a city council member.
And on that, I had a conversation with Councilmember Forsythe and talked about this. He had indicated a willingness to serve. Anyone else? Either way, it's not I think it's 4 meetings.
Roughly 4 meetings over the next year.
Is the anticipation, and then there's public meetings planned within that for anyone. So anyway, if that's agreeable. Otherwise, I'd entertain any other nominations.
Is this, I mean, you need an answer right now, because I might be interested if I learn more about it.
As far as the meeting schedule goes, you're looking at about, as the mayor said, 4 meetings over the next year. They're anticipating late afternoon meetings to try and meet with scheduled. As I mentioned, some of the, basically you look at county commissioner, county planning commissioner, Parks and Rec, county Parks and Rec board member, basically a city council member from Gardner and Edgerton, a planning commissioner from Gardner and Edgerton.
So you only need one, is that what you're?
Yeah, we just,
Oh, okay.
just one.
More the merrier.
I mean, we only need one, you can go ahead and do it. I thought you were, go ahead.
No, I didn't know if instead of Randy, if you wanted to
If there was,
participate.
if you could bring as many as you wanted in, or 2, I would go, but if he wants to do it, that's fine.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you very much.
All right. Staff, anything else for council?
Yes.
Yes.
I would like to provide an update on an item that came up several months ago, has to do with the health insurance item. On the update, you probably saw that item scheduled for an update at the council meeting, council work session for August. In reviewing the minutes, when that item came up, apparently there were a couple of things that were agreed upon that would be done within 60 days. By the time I looked at it, 60-day window had already lapsed. But I did go back to the council members that brought it up and offered some recommendations related to the committee, as well as having the vendors come and talk to council. And my recommendation is that we not bring that item forward in August for a work session, because we've already negotiated the insurance, which carries us through July for a year, and that we determine whether or not we're going to have the committee. And if we're going to have a committee, instead of bringing vendors to council, we would have that work come through the committee, and the committee provide recommendations. So it needs some more evaluation. I am prepared to honor the council's request to have staff look at it, but I think we need to kind of evaluate the manner in how we proceed with healthcare and make sure that we're getting the best value for the citizens as well as the employees, as council has expressed an interest.
Sounds good to me.
Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Council, anything for staff?
I have one quick request of the board. I know just in my time, I think it's been 3 or 4 times that refunding has come up and that we've put through. I didn't know if it's possible in the next many, many weeks, whenever the opportunity presents itself, to a short, just comparison of what impact that's going to have on the 2013 year and the savings that have been achieved by that proactive management of those, the debts and taking care of those things.
All the ones that we've done, I think we've refinanced the sewer loans.
Yeah, I mean, maybe over the past, I don't know, time, maybe 18 months, whatever is a nice window, or however that is, that have been refunded, and how much of an impact that's actually had on the proactive management of that debt has had on the bottom line impact of 2013.
They just 1 year backwards.
That's perfect. Whatever you think we can, just a good idea of what we've been able to achieve there would be great.
And by fund, I assume, because one would be in the sewer fund and one would be in fund and interest fund.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like, there's certainly no time on that, it's just
Okay.
something to see the impact of.
There being no other business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion Freeman, second Morrow, that we adjourn. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
I was so excited to say
Freeman had that last second plunge there. Beat you to the wall. What have I got?